Okay, well, at this point, boss, let's put you on pause and bring in the two gentlemen you said are making you feel lonely on this side.
Yeah, it's an unbalanced fight.
There's no fight.
Those are two black belts, guys. Okay. I'm trying to find the color of my belt. But
you seem to be defeated even before we started actually discussing
I'm going into this conversation knowing fully well that they will protect me.
Fantastic. Good. No, that is reverse blackmail, but it's
exactly.
Okay. Mr. Rwani, now, every election cycle, people expect that they will make money.
Yeah.
Some of the sectors he referred to, as he was talking about, there's a construction. He mentioned, what was the first sector you mentioned?
Minus manufacturing.
Entertainment,
arts and
music production.
Now, at every rally, you're seeing 2-3 sets of musicians playing.
Textiles.
The textiles, then construction, of course. At every rally, there are platforms.
Event planners.
The event planners and all that is there. Now, we just take those as examples. On a general level.
Maybe we should send the FIRS after those guys.
Don't say you're
I'm sure about the family should be watching this show.
Again, as Bosun says, that's something else. I mean, the whole issue of taxing and all of that. But if indeed that amount of money is spent, reduced or enlarged, it contributes to GDP, which is possibly part of the explanation why some are surprised at the GDP figures for this fourth quarter that ended.
Yeah.
Do the numbers back that up?
Well, the truth is that GDP is an output measure, right? So we shouldn't confuse cash being spent with output. It just measures the level of activity and the product. So you have two ways of measuring GDP.
Okay.
You have the expenditure approach and you have the income approach. What has happened is that because the elections were coming up in February and everybody knew that, there was what we call anticipatory spending. People did things thinking that the world will come to an end in 2019. And so you find that in December, in November, the Purchasing Managers Index, people bought a lot of inventory. And they continued to, so that level of activity increased in fourth quarter. Now, the spending you're talking about, the electoral spending, election-related spending, actually started taking place more in December and January. So, because in 2014, 2015, there were no BVNs, you could take money and there was, there was a lot of loose activity. Now, what happened this year is because of that, money was kind of sterilized. But more important is that this election is about management. If you can have as much money as you can, if you don't manage it properly, you end up losing. So it's what we call it in politics, the ground game.
No,
each campaign manages.
Okay.
So you want to have the maximum impact at the correct time on the audience you are targeting. So what you've seen is that the ground game, the real spending, has been in the last 2 weeks, at least from the opposition.
You think so?
That's when, look at the level of the number of adverts, the number of, and all that, the rallies.
There's a poster
there were no rallies in December. There were hardly any rallies. There were just bits and pieces. So the reality is that you save your firepower for the time when you have the maximum impact. So that's management and organization, and that's what you're seeing now is the ground game. So the increased production and GDP was a result. People did everything they were going to do, even in the first quarter in 2019, in 2018. So you had that spike in activity. More important is that trading actually declined. Arts and entertainment, people
manufacturing
declined,
well,
right?
Yeah.
So the reality is that what we call speculative and anticipatory spending in anticipation of the supposed downturn in Q1.
Right.
That's happened. Now in Q1, we are now seeing the cash coming out for the electoral spending. The impact in terms of liquidity, if you look at money supply growth, look at credit in the private sector, it's all tight. So people are having to actually improvise and be more efficient in the way they spend their money. The government itself is also working very hard to ensure that they stay within the limits of the campaign rules.
Do you see that from what you see at campaign rallies,
yes.
the size,
Yeah.
and that's the whole logistics of what is going on at that rally. Does that speak to staying within a budget?
No, what I see is that the price of a mercenary today is steeply discounted. It's much cheaper than what it was in 2015. So being a political, mercenary now is much cheaper. There are more available and the price is lower. But the impact is what we're going to see it's on Saturday, Sunday, Monday when we start seeing the results. But definitely what we are seeing now
so
is
you're
probably
establishing a direct link.
There's a more efficient political process that is taking place now, which means there's less money but optimization of the resources that are taking place. But somebody made a comment that the GDP numbers were contrived and all of that.
Yeah, then there's others that say, oh, this is nominal GDP, it's not real GDP.
No,
Which one should you look at?
No, the reality, whatever the facts are in a campaign, will be given a slant. Spin doctors will do whatever they like. At this time, there are more propagandists than analysts. So you have to be very cautious about what you're saying and how you say it, because no matter what you say, even after this, people are going to say, we're all planted.
But even the timing, so how convenient that this report is coming out just a couple of days, to the election. Exactly. Is it to say that, oh, they've done well in the economy? There are all sorts of conspiracy theories.
No, the GDP numbers for Q3 and Q weighted was delayed. So I don't think the methodology adopted is such that it cannot be rigged. Right? And if it is rigged, you see, the first GDP numbers come out are estimates, and then they get confirmed. The Bureau of Statistics is also funded by multilateral agencies. So you have the federal, not just federal government. So, and those guys, the credibility, data integrity is a major issue. The moment you subject yourself to the whims and caprices of political machinations, then we've lost it.
We'll come back, Mr. Iwane, in just a moment. We've got to take a break. But before we take that break, I'd like to introduce from our Abuja studios Ambassador Humphrey Ojiako, who is a former permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva. Your Excellency, thank you so much for being with us. Welcome to The Verdict.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll take a break now. Of course, Abiodun Adejola will join us after the break as well to make this discussion even more robust. And then Mr. Buka will come into you because there will be many who will ask the question, from the layman's perspective, as to
what
why
does this all mean?
Yeah, why is manufacturing, for example, not picked up in this season of face caps, T-shirts,
they
and so on?
attribute that to the ports.
What's going on? We'll talk about that after the break. Please stay with us.